Folks, Kerry Washington is an actress. She's become increasingly famous and important over recent years. She has a new memoir out in which she talks about her abortion. Alrighty, folks, well, there's an actress. Her name is Kerry Washington. She has recently become a bigger star than she was earlier in her career. She was in a lot of stuff. But now she has a brand new memoir called Thicker Than Water. And she has decided that she is going to talk about how she changed her career. How? Well, she actively rejected playing the white girl's best friend after starring in Against the Ropes, a 2004 boxing drama headlined by Meg Ryan and Omar Epps. The film starred Ryan as Jackie Callan, the first woman to achieve success as a boxing manager, and Washington played Jackie's best friend. She said, "This was becoming a new niche for me, the white girl's best friend." She said it was her third project in a row where she was playing the best friend to the white female lead. First was Save the Last Dance, in which she was Julia Stiles' BFF. And then she scrapped a pilot. There's a pilot that got scrapped for 2004 called Wonder Falls, where she was the best friend of Caroline DeVerness's main character. She said, "When Harry Met Sally is to this day one of my top 3 movies of all time, so once I had played Meg Ryan's best friend, playing the role against anyone else would have been a lateral move. It's not that I wanted to be the star of the film. I wanted my characters to be in a story of their own. I didn't want to be an accessory to a white woman's journey." So first of all, I do love that this sort of language is considered totally appropriate and good now. That's always fun. Is that imagine a white actress who said, "Listen, I was tired of playing the sidekick to a strong female black lead. I just wanted to be my own character." Now, number one, what does the race matter? Would it have been better if she was playing sidekick to a black lady? Apparently, it would have made a difference to Kerry Washington. But if you ever said the reverse, clearly this would be not allowed. But Kerry Washington is, of course, a heroine. She's incredibly important. She was one of the women of the year, according to Time magazine. I want to talk to you about Daily Wire's most trusted privacy partner and premier sponsor of this show, ExpressVPN. Have you ever heard of data brokers? They're the middlemen collecting and selling all those digital footprints you leave online. They can stitch together detailed profiles which include your browsing history, online searches, and location data. They then sell that profile to a company that delivers you a targeted ad. No big deal, right? Well, you might be surprised to learn those same data brokers are also selling your info to the Department of Homeland Security and the IRS. To mask my own digital footprints, I protect myself with ExpressVPN. One of the easiest ways for brokers to aggregate data and tie it back to you is through your device's unique IP address, which also reveals information about your location. When you're connected to ExpressVPN, your IP address is hidden. That makes it much more difficult for data brokers to identify who you are. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of network traffic to keep your data safe from hackers on public Wi-Fi. That's why I have ExpressVPN app downloaded on all my devices. I'm talking phone, computer, even my home Wi-Fi router. I just tap one button to turn it on, and now I am protected. My entire team is using it over here in Israel while we are abroad. Make sure your online activity and data is protected with the best VPN money can buy. Visit expressvpn.com/Ben. Use my link to get 3 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/Ben, expressvpn.com/Ben to learn more. We got a wonderful lady who works over here named Fabi. Fabi does my makeup every morning. She's a delight. We love Fabi. Also, we're all a little scared of Fabi. Fabi is the kind of person who, if you cross her, might commit an actual killing. And so here's the thing. There might come a point, it's not today, it's not tomorrow, where we feel so threatened by Fabi, I mean physically threatened by Fabi, that we have to look to ZipRecruiter in order to replace Fabi. That'll be a very sad day. But ZipRecruiter also makes sure that Fabi stays in line and doesn't actually murder any of the myriad people who annoy her, because she knows that we might go to ZipRecruiter. So ZipRecruiter makes our hiring process a lot faster and easier. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology works for you to identify people whose skills and experience match your job. ZipRecruiter saves you time by letting you easily invite your top candidates to apply to your jobs. They are more likely to apply sooner. ZipRecruiter is trusted by millions of people. In fact, over 3.8 million businesses have come to ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Let ZipRecruiter make your job easier. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within day one. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire to try ZipRecruiter for free. Again, that is ZipRecruiter.com/DAILYWIRE. Again, it's places like ZipRecruiter that we originally found Fabi, so you should go check them out right now. Well, now she has a piece over at Time magazine for the Time 100 about her abortion. In my late 20s, I made the difficult and very private decision to have an abortion, she said. About a decade later, I played a character that was the first woman to be shown undergoing an abortion procedure on network television. As women, it is our right to choose what happens to our bodies, our lives, and our futures. It is also up to us to decide when, how, and with whom we share our stories. Oh, isn't that nice? It's up to you whether the life in your womb should be snuffed out or not. The reality is that abortion is a very real and normal part of a woman's life. I share the story of my abortion procedure here. This is my story. I am one of many, and we will not be silenced. I love that we have to hear we will not be silenced from, people who literally silenced another human being. I won't be silent about what I did to this other person who was growing inside me and was my child. Here's the story. It was January in New York City. I'll never forget how cold it was that morning, says Kerry Washington. I was grateful for the need of additional layers, not only to keep me warm, but also to hide in and cocoon myself away from the reality of the procedure I was about to undergo. So I have a question. Why were you so upset about it? Why? I mean, apparently it's just like normal. It's like a normal thing you do. So what are you so upset about? I sat in the waiting room and completed the paperwork with false information, a made-up name, a pretend address, and non-existent email. Only the phone number was my own should the office need to reach me in case of an emergency. I remember looking around the room and wondering about the circumstances of the other women there. Were they pregnant too? Did they want to be? Were they wondering the same about me? Afraid that they might be, I used my scarf to hide myself further. I was not at this time famous. I was a working actor, someone able to pay my rent, my car insurance. I'd been in a few magazines, my star was on the rise. But my work had not become an impediment to how I traveled through the world. Still, I wanted to be careful, wanted this procedure to remain private. When the nurse called my false name, I followed her into a small office. She proceeded to ask me questions she was required to ask me by the state to help me make sure this was the right choice for me and my family. My body felt hot with shame. Well, maybe it should have, since you were aborting apparently a perfectly healthy fetus. As a teen, I'd performed with a health education theater company. I'd spent years on the other side of the version of that conversation, asking young people to consider their options and weigh the consequences. I was schooled and schooled others in the ways of prevention and the language of sexual empowerment. But in my own life, I had committed the crime that seemed unimaginable to me back then. I had let the heat of the moment dictate choices that would impact me for a lifetime. So, in other words, the comprehensive sex ed didn't work. So you were out there telling people that as long as they used protection and made good decisions, then they would never have to face this. And then you did it, and now you were going to obliterate the results of that decision. So you were not raped. You just had a consensual sexual encounter in which you did not use protection. You got pregnant, and now you are getting rid of the baby for career purposes. That's what this story is. Why hadn't I protected myself? Why hadn't I had the courage to create boundaries around my womb? Why had I silenced my preferences in the name of people-pleasing? This all could have been avoided. If I had spoken up for myself in the moment, I wouldn't have found myself in that office, but there I was, surrendering my insides to a surgical vacuum, trying to repair the damage born of my silence and need to be loved. Yeah, the way that you repair damage is clearly to get rid of a baby. Both the doctor and nurse treated me with great kindness and care, as the website for the clinic had promised. I was doing my best to breathe through the procedure and remain calm until it was all over. And then the nurse let her eyes linger on me. She seemed to be trying to solve a problem. As the doctor opened my service and inserted the thin vacuum tube, the nurse looked down at me, smiled, and very gently said, "Do you know who you look like?" I think she was trying to comfort me, to tell me that even though in this moment was incredibly difficult, she could see the beauty in me, could see that I reminded her of a movie star. She said my real name. I could hear it under the muffled sound of the water in which I was drowning. Kerry Washington. It was my name, but the version she was calling out had nothing to do with me. And so in that moment, I didn't know who I was. So much of our reproductive journey is cloaked in secrecy and shadows, silences the compound, making us feel more alone. Until I had a devastating miscarriage and shared about that with my friends, I had no idea how many women would have weathered that same loss and long to talk about it, but don't. I have the same experience every time I share about my abortion. So first of all, those two things are nothing alike. An abortion is a willful decision to get rid of a child. A miscarriage is a tragedy that occurs when the fetus is not properly formed. That, not the same thing. You talking about a miscarriage helps other women who may be suffering with pain that results from no action they took. Shouting your abortion, being proud of what you did here, is not the same thing at all. By the way, what's amazing is that this entire story is about how she felt ashamed, how she felt upset, and at no point does she ever think to herself, why? What is the reason I'm feeling that way? Why am I feeling this is not just, getting a polyp removed? Why is there something of life-altering significance happening right here? Maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's about the child. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.